What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to Game Day Grace, the podcast where faith and sports unite in powerful conversations. I'm David Schiele. That is Cory Mose. We are always here on the Believer's Bench here on Game Day Grace. You can subscribe right now on our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, hit the follow button there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can hit the follow button on there. Game Day Grace is also on TikTok. We're posting clips there every now and again, and you can follow me or Cory on X and on Instagram. Today, we are joined by a powerful man of God, someone who has an amazing testimony. God has really moved in this man's life. We are joined by Brian Maddox today. He is one of the equipment managers at Auburn. And Brian, we did a lot of talking before we hit record, so I know we're going to do a lot of talking now.
Oh, yeah.
But give people just a quick background. How did you end up at Auburn as an equipment manager?
So I ended up at Auburn. Long story short, I was chasing a girl, and that's how I got into equipment. And then met while I was at another university. I met a friend, and basically through connections, got to Auburn on a my words are escaping me right now. Basically, got to Auburn through friendship, and that's how I got there. And luckily enough, who I knew got me there, and what I know is keeping me there. So here we are.
Yes, sir. And you are 10 years in with the Tigers. Obviously, that university's had a lot of success with the athletic programs. We see it all the time. From your perspective, what is that like? Because you're on the inside. We're just spectators on the outside. But just what are you seeing consistently from the Tigers throughout their different sports that lead to the success that we see on the national stage?
A couple things. Number one, we do a really good job of bringing in really good people, and I think it starts there. We start with a group of guys and girls who are committed to doing things the right way, and bringing in quality character individuals. That's number one. And number two, I think the basis of that is our Lord. And the majority of the people that we bring in have those values, and I think that's a credit to our coaches and our staff, because they look for that. That's part of what they look for when they're recruiting, is not just what you can do on the field, but your character and how you're going to fit in the locker room, how you're going to fit in the community, and what you can do on and off the field, not just, hey, what's that look like on a Saturday, or what's that look like on a Friday night, in Noble Arena, against some of the best competition on the planet in the SEC.
Yeah. I'm interested to know, my family's from Alabama. My dad is, I should say. He's from Mobile, Alabama.
Okay.
And so I'm interested to know, like, how deep is that hate for Alabama? Like, is it really like that over there?
Honestly, I think it's more of a fan thing than it is an athlete thing.
Okay.
Because I say that in a little bit of confidence, because some of my best friends wear crimson and white. Our staff, our equipment staff especially, for basketball gets well. Let me slow down. Gets along really, really well with their staff. Garrett and Stewart at Alabama are some of mine and Kevin's best friends, and which is hard. You look from the outside and you're like, oh, there's no way they get along. There's no way. They're bitter rivals. We actually are pretty good friends. Like, we just got done with SEC meetings this past week, and which is why it took so long to respond to you guys. And we were inseparable. Like, we were playing golf together like all week. Everywhere they went, we went. And the same with the Georgia guys, the guys at Tennessee. So, like, it's kind of funny from a fan's perspective. I can't wear crimson. I can't wear. My buddy was yelling Roll Tide, and he's wearing Auburn stuff, and we're still working on getting Garrett to yell War Eagle, or at least to say it. But we get along with them really, really well. And what we've done in basketball the last couple years is absolutely amazing. When you look at the history of the state and how football driven this state is, to see what we've both done in basketball over the last probably 4 years. And we got four Final Fours out between both of us, two for each program. So very, very cool to be part of what we're doing and that aspect of it. But again, I think it goes back to the people that we bring in, and just and how how the Lord's using all of us in that.
Yeah, it's cool. You brought up the basketball program. I heard Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl is a big time believer.
Oh,
He does.
big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he and Chad Pruitt, which Coach Pruitt just got another opportunity with Unite. I don't, you guys, sure you guys have heard of Unite US. He and his wife are basically doing that full time now. He is stepping away from the Auburn program to go do that, and we're very proud of him. Obviously, a big leap of faith to go ahead and do that, and I have no doubt that he'll be successful in that. But again, I think it goes back to our coaches and what they look for when they're recruiting, and I think Coach Pearl does a really good job of that with bringing in people who have similar beliefs as him, and I think it shows throughout our program.
Yeah, you can definitely see that. You hear it in the press conferences and the interviews. I mean, it's y'all are unashamed at Auburn. I know that y'all are unashamed at Auburn. Now I'm a Georgia fan, so I'm trying to.
Yes, I see that Falcons jersey in the background.
Yeah, I'm not giving y'all that much credit.
How'd you get away with the Falcons jersey in Tampa Bay?
Everybody asks that.
Everybody always asks that. It's really, it's not as deep as a hatred between Tampa and Atlanta as it is between Atlanta and New Orleans and Tampa and New Orleans.
That's true.
Really, it's just Tampa and Atlanta have a common enemy, and that's the Saints.
Yeah.
So if we just direct all the attention to them, it's fine. But I mean, I have not had one person approach me in any threatening fashion about the Falcons here in Tampa.
Okay.
There's been no issue.
I'm a Bucks fan, so I'm a Central Floridian at heart. So I'm a Bucks and a Rays fan, and but like I said, I saw that Falcons jersey in the background. I was like, I got to ask him about that.
Yeah, it's fine. I've had conversations with Rondé Barber and Derek Brooks, and it's like, the Falcons. I mean, Michael Vick couldn't do anything against them, but it's like it was never this huge rivalry where they can't stand seeing the colors. It was just like, we got to play them twice. So,
exactly.
So I have a lot of respect for the Bucks, man. It's a really well-run organization. The Rays, man, look, tough season. I like Kevin Cash a lot. It's just
I do too.
A lot of things aren't his fault. Some things are. A lot of things aren't his fault. But just to be honest, man, Wander Franco sent this franchise into a spiral.
Yeah.
If I can just be real, Wander Franco sent this franchise into a spiral with his legal issues, and now we're seeing the results of it. And that's what kind of happens. You got a guy who's the face of the team. He gets in trouble. Well, that's going to cost you. I mean, you're going to see it on the field.
Oh, 100%. And that's back to our point earlier with Coach Pearl and with who we bring in. Mm-hmm. Our recruits and our people understand that there are certain things that are just bigger than them. And our faith is one of them. And then, being, having the AU on your chest or that Auburn logo across your chest, that means something. And being able to do things the right way and show your faith in the right way, I think is one of the things that we do really well here. And I'm really proud of here.
I'm interested. What's your day-to-day? What's your day-to-day look like? What's your role in your position?
Oh man, it depends. So I have two sports. I work with women's volleyball and I work with women's basketball team. And then Kevin, my office mate, who actually set this up, is the men's head guy. So he basically deals with the men on pretty much everything. But I kind of fill in when he's up against it, and just things are going crazy. I mean, Final Four run, that took a village
Yeah.
to do. Um, and so when things get a little hectic, we step in and help each other out, and that's kind of where, again, back to the people side of things.
Yeah, you mentioned Kevin was part of your testimony, so you
Oh
can
yeah,
answer this however you want. How does he fit into that story between you and getting in relationship with God?
man, I tell you, Kevin's one of the reasons I'm at Auburn. Um, just our relationship that we formed over the years. Um, I met him when I was at Navy. I was an intern at Navy, and that turned into 12 years, which I didn't never thought that would happen. But that was a 12-year stint, and then I met Kevin while I was at the academy, and he's just one of those dudes you just lean on, right? Um, he's from Nashville, so he's a Titan. Going back to our pro stuff,
You said that with
Yeah,
disappointment.
you did.
He's a
right?
Titan.
He's a Titan, and a Predator, and all. He's a Nashville guy. He's a Vanderbilt guy as well.
That's disgusting. Come on, Vanderbilt.
Anchor down.
It is what it is, dude. But no, he is. He's again back to the people though. He's quality people. And just he's one of those guys that I've been able to lean on. And so when things got tough, health wise, hey man, I need you to step in. I can't do it today, or you know I can't get out of the house because my heart's racing and it's going 190 miles an hour and I'm sitting still in a chair. And he's one of those guys that just kind of fills the gap in every sense of the word and at every turn. So, and he's kind of the one that started it. He's like, have you ever thought about it? And I was like, thought about what? He's like, giving your life to Christ. And I was like, I was there at one point, got away from it. Like a lot of people, we go to college and do stupid stuff. Thankfully, my stuff was before cell phones and Facebook and all that stuff. So I got very fortunate in those in that aspect. So a lot of it's not recorded. Um, but he kind of brought it to my attention, like, hey, you need to change some things, and with his help and Scott Shepard, who was one of our athlete in action folks on campus, I've been able to make a big change in that, and the way I go about things, the way I view things, some of the things that I participate in. Like if you told me, 4 years ago, 5 years ago that I've been doing this, I'd laugh at you, because I'd be like, there's no way anybody wants to talk to me about that. And here we are. So you can't tell me that he's not working, right? And just some of the stuff that has happened on our campus. The middle of the season, our guys are calling God in the middle of a basketball game. Never thought I'd see that, especially in the SEC level. Just in the movement, things that I got to tell you a funny story. So I was working with baseball. Unite was brand new, was just starting out, and one of the first ones they did was at in Neville Arena, and I thought it was a pep rally because I just got to Auburn, so I thought and it was right before, it was the week before the Georgia game. We were hosting football was hosting Georgia on campus, and so I thought it was a Georgia pep rally because like all the baseball teams going, my baseball staff was going, some of my friends were going that I just met, and so like, all right, I'll go. We walk in, band's going, and I'm like, that's not our fight song. That's not, just not like a pep rally type music. And I get further in, and I'm like, okay, that's something I haven't heard in a while.
Mm.
And it turns out it was Christian, it was Christian rock. And one of the most fun times I've had on campus was that night, and I thought it was a pep rally to beat Georgia on Saturday, and it was so awesome. I called my mom. I was like, I just went to this awesome pep rally, but it was not a pep rally, and I didn't know how quite to explain it, um, and I went in Shepherd the next day because that was a Thursday, and I saw Shepherd on Friday. And I was like, "Shep, that was amazing! Like I thought it was a pep rally. We had a good laugh about it because at Navy we always had a pep rally before like the Army game, before the Air Force game, and so that's what I was equating it to because that's what I knew. And I was like, but that was the weirdest pep rally I've ever been to because it had nothing to do with the University of Georgia. It had nothing, it had nothing to do with that. It was all about, it was a Christ-driven, concert basically and rally. And I'm like, that was the most fun I've had in a long time. And it was just a fun night. And again, part of returning to where I should be, right? And kind of like the Lord said, "Hey, pay attention. I've got stuff for you. You're not paying attention. I got to get your attention somehow. This is it." And so between some health issues and the pep rally that I thought was a Georgia pep rally, it really started to turn the wheels a little bit. And then it being put in a leadership position and wanting to do it the right way, it made everything just kind of came together. And like, you just started lining things up where it just one led to another, where it led to another that made a lot of sense. And just kind of being in what Coach Thompson calls a servant leadership role, which is, I think, another reason why I love what I do. Is because we're here to serve others, and it's very, very biblical, right? So, being able to do that on a day-to-day basis, and then add to that with the gospel, and being able to add my faith into that is even better, and we're seeing all kinds of results just within the two programs that I work with, or three programs that I work with, and then watching it grow from those two programs to three to four, and then throughout the athletic department. And so, I'm not saying that we're completely converted and we're completely 100% perfect, because we're not, but we're on the right track.
Yeah, sounds like revival. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and we've done it twice. So every year they do a unite, or every other year they do a unite on campus. And the last time we went, we had like 3,500 kids get
Man.
baptized.
Wow.
It was crazy.
35. How is
So,
there enough water?
so what's okay? So to answer your question, and that's a very, very valid question, right?
I mean, yeah.
So the way our athletics complex is set up, we have the athletic complex. You go down the street about, I guess, 1,500 yards, and then you have the Coliseum, which is the old basketball arena, and then on the other side of that, on the other side of the parking lot, you got the new arena. Across the street, you have baseball. Behind the complex, you have the new football building, and then you got soccer and softball. Next to the soccer stadium is we call it the Red Barn, but then there's a big lake between the Red Barn and the soccer facility. And so they all went to the Red Barn, and everybody met at the Red Barn. And like I said, 3,500 kids got baptized that night. A lot of the football program, most of the football program was in there. A lot of our basketball kids were in there. which was really cool to have Coach Pearl and Coach Freeze out there baptizing their athletes
Yeah.
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 right after this rally, and it was really really cool. Now we caught some flack from that from some folks, but because they thought it was forced,
Mm.
and it was not. It was 100%, 100% organic. It didn't start off. I mean, it started off as a rally, and next thing you know, we've got a line, 6 to 7 deep, for probably 200, 300 yards of kids trying to get baptized, and it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. I mean, we're taking golf carts and gators and taking people down to the river to get baptized, down to the lake to get baptized. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I thought y'all just had like a couple tubs. I'm like, there's no
No,
way.
no.
There is
Now,
no way.
you have a couple baseball kids get baptized in a cold tub, basically,
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
at the
okay.
baseball facility
yeah.
this past year, which was really cool. And I actually got to be a part of that, and that was a lot of fun to see those guys and to see their growth and their commitment. But and that was a lot of fun, and that was really cool.
Yeah, that's how they did in the Bible. They was like, hey, there's water right there. All right, let's go. You know,
Yeah.
so
Basically, that's kind of how it happened
yeah,
the night of the night, and it's almost now to the point where we almost expect when we do something like that for something to happen. But yeah, the last one was really organic and really really awesome. I mean, it was just that's the only way I can describe it was awesome, because it was just completely like, oh, we're gonna go get back, like there was like one person that asked the question if they could get baptized that night, and people were turning their heads and looking around like, yeah, I guess we can do that. And then another came up, then another came up, and like, all right, we're just gonna go to the barn because that's where the most space is. And then the next thing we know, my managers are jumping in golf carts and gators and taking people down. So and
That's a beautiful night.
it just became a crazy event.
yeah,
That's
So,
awesome. I wanted to ask, I want to kind of backtrack because you mentioned if someone would have asked you 5 years ago if you were to do this, you'll laugh. Like,
yeah.
what has been like the biggest change in your life and the shift in your heart that you feel like that now you're like, okay, wow, looking back, that was crazy. I was doing that, or I guess I'm basically asking what has changed the most in your life in the last 5 years?
I think number one, I had open heart surgery, and
Okay.
that was actually this past October. But that knowing that was on the horizon and that was coming was a big step in that, because when you have nowhere else to turn, what do you do? Right? When mom and dad can't help you, what do you do? When you're used to mom and dad helping you, what can you do? When your coaches can't help you, when your administration can't help you, what do you do? And for me, that answer was easy because I already kind of planted that seed with Scott Shepard and even Kevin. Like, where do I turn for this? Like, I don't have an answer for this. And so my answer was, okay, I'm going to turn to our Lord and let Him deal with it. Let Him figure it out. And the key for me was and that was back in August. I guess right. No, it was probably July. It was in July when we first set the date. That was in July, and the first thing I thought about was my athletes. Like, how am I going to take care of my kids while I'm gone? Because that's a 3 month deal, right? Like, you have it in October, you can't come back to January. Oh wait, we're in the middle of 2 seasons, 3 seasons,
Yeah.
right? Because both basketballs are playing, volleyball's in season at that point. So how am I going to take care of my kids and my programs? Not me, but how are they going to be taken care of? And the only answer I had was, B, Kevin's going to be overworked and hate me for a minute. or be mad at me for a minute. But then the other thing is, he can't do anything about the surgery part of it,
Mm.
right? So I basically said, Lord, I'm not going to fear this because I know you got it. Now help me walk. Now help walk me through it. And I there was about a week where I'm not going to lie, I moped a little bit
Mm.
because it was like, okay, how am I going to do this? How's this going to work? And trying to figure out all the answers to that question, to those questions. How am I going to tell my coaches? How am I going to tell my kids? How am I going to tell my parents? Because my parents are older and I don't, dad can't really move around much. And bless my mom's heart, she's trying to take care of him and me at the same time, and three cats, and we're 7 hours away from with a car. And my dad hates to fly, so that's a whole nother issue we had. So I was like, Lord, just help us through this, And my church, I've got a really great church here in Auburn. Actually, it's a little bit north of here in Lake Martin. And I went to my pastor and I was like, hey, I don't fear anything because I know he has it, but I need some help. I need you guys to pray for me. I need somebody to speak on my behalf when I can't. And you guys are better at this than I am. And I'm going to steal a line from Jelly Roll. He's like, I've got the bass part figured out. I'm just working on all the other stuff right now, right? Like I know who's in charge, and I just don't know how he's going to do it. But I know he's in charge, and I know he's going to take care of it. And I'm learning. I got to learn the details and all the other stuff as it happens. And so I just kind of went in with that attitude after about a week of kind of moping around and trying to figure it out on my own. And I was like, I only came to one conclusion, and he has to take it. And honestly, I wish I'd have done that 5 years ago.
Mm.
I wish I'd have done that. Actually, I wish I'd have done it a lot sooner than 5 years ago. I wish I'd have done that when I was at the academy. Because I think things would have turned out a little bit different. I went through a little bit of a depression phase, struggling with my heart, and when I say struggling with my heart, not physically struggling with my heart, right? So the one valve that collapsed and the one valve that needed replaced, and then the one valve that we were able to repair. Um, like I didn't understand why it kept happening. Like, because I would have really good days where I felt great and felt normal and could run down and play balls and move nets and cages and do all those things, right, that I used to do as a student manager. And then I had days where I couldn't get my chair because my heart was racing too fast and I couldn't breathe. And so I went through a little bit of a depression phase, and had I not gone through that, had I given that identity up earlier, I think it would have changed a lot of the ways that I would have handled some of that.
As I'm listening to this, what I'm taking from it is you you were at a point where things got very, very real very, very quickly.
Yes.
And they seemed to be very serious, which
Mm-hmm.
meant that you had to get serious about thinking about eternity, which at
Yeah.
some point
Oh,
people
facts.
do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for you, I wonder if there was an initial or maybe just a real genuine moment where you were just maybe you were on your face, maybe you were on your knees, maybe you were in the car. I don't know. But wherever it was where you really just you had a real encounter with God in that moment and it was like I have to surrender because he can't do anything with our control. You've got to surrender. So I
Right.
wonder what that moment looks like for you.
I don't. I don't think it was one. I think it was a combination.
Okay.
I think it was. going back, it was me passing out on the baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was passing out, late night doing laundry, and nobody was there. One of my student managers caught me. He came back to ask a question. I'm laying on the floor out, and so at that point, that was kind of an awakening as well. But then, because of the health issues, I got reassigned from baseball, and so
Okay.
I got assigned to basketball. A, because it's a little bit easier from a laundry standpoint, from a day to day standpoint, and there's not as many people. But the flip side of that was Kevin would be in the building. Kevin's my office mate, so it was more of a CYA type thing, where the university is kind of saying, "Hey, we can't leave this guy alone because we've done it twice and he's passed out twice, right? Or we found him passed out twice." And so it was kind of a kind of a cover your tail type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And and then again, Kevin and I work really, really well together. We feed off of each other. So I think that was one thing where, hey, let's put them both together and let them figure it out. And so I definitely attribute the passing out at baseball as part of it. I think trying to be a better leader, trying to be a better person individually, trying to take care of my teams better. I think all those were kind of, hey, you need to straighten your tail up. You need to straighten up a little bit, and you need to do it the right way. And the right way is not the path you're on. And you need to figure this out, and you need to change some things. And you're either gonna not do it, and you're gonna and you're not gonna like the answer, and you're not gonna like the result, or you're gonna do it, and now you've got a fighting chance. And so, for me, that made it kind of crystal clear. Um, and again, like we talked about earlier, I was that kid in Sunday school who was mom made him go, type thing. Your nana made you go, even though you really didn't want to be there. So I'd been introduced to it, but never really fully understood what that meant, right, and what that looked like. And at that point, it was okay. You better figure it out. And so that was, to me, it was a real easily made adjustment. We talk about adjustments in game all the time, and that was one that was an in-game adjustment where it was, hey, if you're going to continue to do what you're doing and continue to take the stress that you take, you need to give your life to Christ. You need to submit to Him and let Him handle it, and you just be the shepherd of that work, right? You just answer and follow His directions and let Him handle how that looks and what it looks like. And again, being placed in the building with Coach Pearl and Coach Pruitt and those guys has even been more beneficial because they back it up, right? So they back up that faith and they back up allowing you to do that. And then, yeah, and to me that was all the difference. And now I've started. And I saw the podcast what you did with the rower from Texas.
Yeah.
Uh,
Shout out to Grace. Yeah.
with Grace, yep.
Yeah.
And how and I'm with her. The things that I struggle with are some of the same things that she did, right? When she first submitted, and having to say, not really having to say no, but wanting to say no to things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was, to me, that's a difference. 5 years ago, it would have been me having to say no. Now I'm wanting to say no because I'm wanting to please him, and not, it doesn't align with my values now. And so where 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even Yeah, I'd go to Sky Bar. I'd go do something. I'd go out and have, whatever. But now it's like, okay, from a health standpoint, from a faith based standpoint, you don't want to do that because that's not who you are. That's not what you want people to see. And so that's kind of where I'm more and more going in that direction.
Yeah, Ezekiel 36, change your heart of stone to a heart of flesh. And you have a heart change. And
So
so,
literally, I had a heart change
yeah,
both and
yeah,
physically and spiritually, right? So
yeah,
um, and so what better way to do it if you got a physical change and a spiritual change at the same time.
hmm
And I lead to believe that that was by plan, right? So you get when you start to believe and when you do fully submit your life to Christ, you are changed. Well, I got changed physically and mentally,
yeah,
you know, because now the things that I used to do, I don't do anymore. Part of it's because I'm old, right? I'm older. I'm 45, 47 now. And the people I go out with are, 30 in their 30s.
Hmm.
So part of that was that. And so I kind of had to be the adult in the room.
yeah,
But then the other part of that was my faith changed and got stronger. And so now it's like, and back to the question I asked Shep, hey, what do you see when you see me? I want the answer to be, I see a guy who has something that I don't, and I want it. And then I want the people to come approach me about it and ask, right? One of the things I started doing last or 2 years ago, when I first moved over to the arena, was I started playing church music in the equipment room.
mm,
And at first it was kind of weird, right? Because the new guy in the building is playing church music. And then what was funny was, and this is with our women's basketball team, they took notice. Like on Sundays, because of shoot around and things like that, we didn't get to go to church.
yeah,
So my way of going to church was playing church music in the locker room or in the equipment room. So when they come in to have to ask for socks or a loop or whatever, they heard it. Well, it got to the point where, and it's now to the point now when they do it, they're like, "Oh, it's Sunday. You got church music on. We're going to church today." And so they don't even. It doesn't faze them anymore. In fact, last year when I was out, one of the kids asked Kevin. He goes, "What? Where's the?" Hap usually has Christian rap or some kind of Christian music on in here. We ain't doing this today? And they got all mad about it.
yeah,
So I was like, "Yeah, we're winning. We're winning. We're doing something right." So that was like the aha moment, I guess. That now even the kids have started to take notice, and so that viewpoint is changing.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. I might have to give somebody that note. You said the in-game adjustment. Somebody gonna title the sermon "The Great In-Game Adjustment."
yeah,
That's a sermon title
You
right
can take
there.
it. You can take it. Go for it. That's
Yeah.
yours.
You said the great in-game adjustment.
Adjustment. There you
That was
go.
fire. That was fire. Cause it's like, yo, if we keep doing what we're doing, we're
It
gonna
ain't
lose
gonna,
this game,
correct.
right? And if
game of
look,
life.
You got to change and do
yeah,
something.
yeah, if we keep living the way we live, right, and we keep displaying the fruits of the flesh, well, the wages of that is death. So
Correct.
you gotta make an in-game adjustment. Yeah, see, yeah. Now that was good, Brian.
There you go. You're welcome.
Good. That was
I'm
good, man.
gonna say it every once in a while.
Hey, man, that was good. I want to ask you one more thing. What do you
Sure.
think? What do you think the Lord is telling you going into the rest of the year? I know we're kind of halfway through, we're almost at that midway
Right.
point. What are you hearing from the Lord this year? You've got this relationship with Him. You're on this walk. What do you think He's been telling you?
I think it's saying to step up. Keep stepping
Mm,
up. When things get tough, you turn. Make that call. Call him. Ask for his help. When our pastor said I guess it was 2 Sundays ago, he's dad, right? How many times have you said, "Hey, I can do this on my own," and dad gets mad at you because he has a better way, right? Or you try to do it on your own and fail, because you didn't want to bother him. Well, the Lord's the same way. He wants you to ask him for help. He wants you to help. He wants to be able to do things for you. And if you don't ask him, he's not going to. So ask him. And he wants that relationship. He wants you to come to him and say, Dad, I need help. Lord, I need your help. I need you to help protect my family. I need you to put a safety net around my friends when they're traveling. I need you to look over my basketball program when they're recruiting. To bring in the right type of kids. And to bring those people back to campus safely. And again, I think it's just I think he's telling me to step up when called on. So again, to answer your question in a long-winded way, I think it's to step up to the plate, not be afraid to make a mistake. If you step out in faith, it's going to be fine. It may be bumpy, but it's going to be fine. Because if it's not, I'm not done with you yet, right? So, I think that's the answer to that. You step out in faith, and every chance you get, even if it's a small one, right? So even if it's something as small as having Christian music on in the clubhouse while the kids are coming in to get dressed and get ready for the competition, that's a step in the right direction. And it doesn't take a lot for the kids to figure that out, right? And it's something that you don't have to, and it's not beating the kid over the head with the Bible either. It's letting them figure it out, and then it's a win-win, right? Because now they're wanting to learn, they're wanting to figure that out, and it opens up for a whole different type of conversation where you're not, being a Bible thumper and getting after them and saying, "Hey, you got to do this, or this is going to happen." It's planting a seed. It's planting a little nugget. Let them kind of come to it, and let them figure it out.
Yeah, that's a good word, man. That's a great word. Brian, thank you so much for joining us, man. This was really good. We appreciate your transparency. We're glad to see that you're healthy, that you're doing a lot better too, man. We
I
want to make
appreciate
sure
that.
make sure we say that. Stay healthy. Keep drinking water. It's hot. It's
Yeah,
always gonna be
definitely.
hot.
What is
So
it, like 102 down there?
it's something feels like it. I think the last I heard from our meteorologist is that it was gonna feel like 100. So I have been indoors all day.
Well, see, on my computer it says it's 95. It's 90 here, so it's
Yeah,
got to be hotter than that down in Tampa.
yeah, it's not fun. And of course, the Rays are playing outdoors this season,
Yeah, that's
and
wild.
that's torture. It is torture.
Between the rain delays and the heat, yeah,
And then after the rain,
they're
you
missing the
know,
crowd right now. That's for sure.
yeah, after the rain, you get all that humidity, that good old
Oh
fashioned
yeah,
humidity. Oh, it is torturous. It's
yeah.
horrible. I don't wish it on anybody except for the Mets.
That's from a Braves fan right there, folks.
So,
That's the
hey,
Braves fan talking.
hey, man, just I had to get it out there. Had to get it out there. Hey,
Hey,
Brian, thank you so
I don't
much,
hate
man.
it. I don't hate it.
Yeah, got to do it. Got to do it, man. Hey, we appreciate you,
Exactly.
Brian. We appreciate everybody out there that was listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, go ahead, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, hit the follow button on Spotify, hit the follow button on Apple Podcasts, and also you can give us reviews on Apple Podcasts. So shout out to the person, I don't even know who it was, gave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. So if you want to
Nice.
go ahead and give us 5 stars, go ahead, man. This is all about spreading the word of God. It's all about fellowship. It's not about lifting us up, but lifting him up, advancing his kingdom, and as my pastor likes to say, depopulating hell. So we ask that
Love
you
it.
share this. Yeah, if you share it with a family member, you share it with a friend, it can change lives. We know this podcast has changed people's lives because we're talking about how our lives have been changed. And so if you enjoy that and you want to inspire somebody that's in your circle, please give this podcast a share. Until we see you next time, I'm David Schiele. That is Cory Mose. Brian, we thank you again for joining us. Everybody out there, you be easy and be blessed.